Welcome to Car Garage USA. If you drive a BMW X7, Mercedes-Benz GLS, Range Rover, or Cadillac Escalade, you need to pay attention, because Audi has finally entered the full-size luxury SUV fight with something it has never had before, a true flagship SUV. The 2027 Audi Q9 is Audi's largest SUV ever, and with 429 horsepower, 3 rows, up to 87.7 cubic feet of cargo space, standard adaptive air suspension, and a starting price of $87,700, Audi is not simply trying to make another Q7. It is coming directly for the heavy hitters. And the really interesting part? There is an SQ9 with 591 horsepower and a twin-turbo V8. The Q9 changes Audi's position in this segment immediately. For years, BMW had the X7, Mercedes had the GLS, Range Rover owned the ultra-luxury image, and Cadillac had the Escalade's enormous American presence. Audi had excellent SUVs, but it didn't have a vehicle sitting directly at the top of that table. Now it does. Audi officially describes the Q9 as its largest SUV to date and its flagship sub for the North American market. And visually, Audi clearly understood that a flagship cannot look like a stretched family crossover. The Q9 has an upright, wide-bodied stance, a tall greenhouse, a steep rear section, a large front face, and wheels that fill the arches in a way that makes the vehicle look substantially more expensive than the Q7. Published US specification listings put the Q9 at roughly 209 inches long, about 79 inches wide, around 71 inches tall, with a wheelbase of approximately 124 inches. Those figures place it firmly in full-size luxury SUV territory, although exact equipment can affect final dimensions. You can choose from 21, 22, and 23-inch wheel designs, with 22-inch wheels highlighted by Audi and 23-inch wheels available for an even more imposing look. But here is where things get interesting. Audi is using lighting as part of the Q9's identity rather than treating headlights and taillights as simple hardware. The US market Q9 introduces Audi's adaptive driving beam digital matrix LED headlights, an Audi first for the United States. The system is designed to improve nighttime visibility while intelligently controlling the light distribution around other road users. At the back, available curved digital OLED lighting adds another layer of technology. The rear lights can display different light signatures and warning symbols, while advanced indicators can project directional information toward the side of the vehicle when turning. In other words, the Q9 doesn't just tell other drivers where you're going with a flashing bulb. Audi is turning the lighting system into part of the communication between the vehicle and everyone around it. Compared with an X7, the Q9 feels more technical and deliberately futuristic. Against the GLS, it looks more restrained and architectural. The Escalade remains more dramatic and unmistakably American, while the Range Rover still carries that minimalist, almost boutique luxury personality. The Q9 sits somewhere between them, aggressive enough to command attention, but clean enough to still look unmistakably Audi. Now let's talk about the number that matters most, performance. For the US Q9, Audi lists a twin-turbocharged V6 producing 429 horsepower. The engine is paired with quattro all-wheel drive and an 8-speed Tiptronic transmission, while adaptive air suspension is standard. Audi quotes 0 to 60 miles per hour in just 4.9 seconds. Think about what that means. This is a 3-row SUV weighing more than 5,000 pounds in published US specifications, yet Audi is targeting sports car-like response from something designed to carry the entire family. And towing isn't an afterthought. Properly equipped, the Q9 can tow up to 7,700 pounds. That is enough. For serious recreational equipment, a substantial trailer, or a large family boat, although actual towing capability depends on configuration, equipment, vehicle load, and accessories. On paper, that sounds impressive. But what does it mean in the real world? It means the Q9 should feel effortless rather than frantic. The V6 doesn't need to scream to move this much vehicle. Quattro gives it confidence in wet or slippery conditions, while the adaptive air suspension is designed to separate passengers from the rough edges of the road. And that is exactly what you want from a flagship SUV. The SQ9 takes the idea considerably further. Audi's first ever SQ9 uses a twin-turbocharged V8 producing 591 horsepower and 590 pound-feet of torque. Audi quotes a 0 to 60 mph time of just 3.8 seconds, which is absurdly quick for a 3-row luxury SUV. The SQ9 also gets performance-oriented quattro hardware, available 23-inch wheels, and all-wheel steering to improve both high-speed stability and low-speed maneuverability. This is where the Q9 begins to separate itself from the conventional luxury SUV conversation. The standard Q9 is the executive family hauler. The SQ9 is the vehicle for someone who wants the family hauler to behave like a performance SUV on the weekend. Step inside, and Audi's strategy becomes even clearer. The cabin is designed to feel less like a traditional SUV interior and more like a digital luxury lounge. There are high-resolution displays, Audi's digital cockpit and MMI interface, a front passenger display, a head-up display, wireless smartphone charging, and multiple USB ports. Audi also emphasizes cabin personalization through ambient lighting and the interaction between lighting, displays, seats, climate, sound, and other functions. The standard panoramic sunroof opens the cabin visually, while available non-transparent segments allow the roof to change the atmosphere inside. 5-zone automatic climate control can give passengers across all 3 rows their own temperature settings, and available heated, ventilated, and massaging seats push the Q9 toward genuine long-distance luxury. The seating arrangement is another major advantage. The Q9 can be configured as a 7-seater, or as a 6-seater with individual second-row captain's chairs. That 6-seat setup is particularly interesting for buyers who regularly carry adults in the second row and want easier access toward the third row. And unlike many 3-row SUVs where the third row feels like punishment, the Q9 is designed to give that rear row substantially more usability. Published specifications list approximately 39.8 inches of third-row headroom, while Audi specifically highlights easier third-row access and the ability to accommodate child seats in the second row. For families, that matters more than another 20 horsepower. Cargo space is another major selling point. With the second and third rows folded, Audi quotes up to 87.7 cubic feet. That puts the Q9 in serious family road trip territory. You can carry luggage, sports equipment, groceries, strollers, or whatever else a 3-row SUV gets asked to swallow on a regular basis. Audi also integrates practical cargo management hardware, including aluminum rails with adjustable anchors for securing loads. There are dual wireless charging pads supporting Qi 2.2 and USB-C ports capable of delivering up to 100 watts, according to Audi's interior information. And then there's sound. Available Bang & Olufsen premium audio is aimed directly at buyers who expect the cabin to feel like a private lounge rather than simply a transportation device. Combine that with ambient lighting, personalized cabin settings, panoramic glass, massage seating, and the digital cockpit, and the Q9 starts making a very convincing argument for itself. But Audi knows that a $90,000 plus SUV has to do more than look expensive. The Q9 comes with a broad collection of driver assistance technology, including adaptive cruise-related systems, parking assistance, cameras, and sensors. On eligible highways and approved routes, Audi offers hands-free assisted driving, with the US Q9 offering a 3-year trial of the hands-free capability. This is assistance technology, not autonomous driving, and the driver remains responsible for the vehicle at all times. That distinction is important because luxury brands are competing just as aggressively on software as they are on leather and horsepower. Now let's talk about price. Audi currently lists the 2027 Q9 starting at $87,700 in the United States, while the SQ9 starts at $118,000. Destination, options, packages, taxes, and dealer charges can push the real transaction price considerably higher. So realistically, a well-equipped Q9 can move comfortably into the $100,000 plus zone, and an option-heavy SQ9 can approach or exceed the territory occupied by some of the most expensive versions of its competitors. And this is where the buying decision gets complicated. A Q9 may look like a better value than a similarly equipped Range Rover or Escalade in some configurations, but luxury SUV ownership is never just about the sticker price. Fuel will be a major expense because you're moving a large, powerful gasoline SUV. Insurance will likely be expensive because replacement parts, sensors, cameras, glass, wheels, and advanced lighting systems are not cheap. 22 and 23-inch tires will cost considerably more than conventional SUV tires, and replacing a full set of premium performance tires can become a serious four-figure expense depending on the brand and specification. Then there's depreciation. A first-generation flagship Audi SUV could depreciate heavily during its early years, particularly if Audi incentives become aggressive. That's one reason leasing may make more sense for some buyers who want the latest technology without carrying the full long-term depreciation risk. On the other hand, someone planning to keep the Q9 for 7 or 8 years may care more about maintenance history, warranty coverage, repair costs, and long-term reliability than the initial resale value. Audi does provide some useful protection. Audi Signature Care is included on eligible 2026 and newer vehicles and covers scheduled maintenance for the first 3 years or 30,000 miles, whichever comes first. The new vehicle limited warranty is 4 years or 50,000 miles. But there is a catch. The Q9 is a first-generation flagship SUV. That means new electronics, new lighting systems, new software, new interior technology, and a much more complex vehicle architecture. We don't yet have years of US reliability data for the Q9 itself. That doesn't mean it will be unreliable. It means buyers should be realistic about first model year uncertainty. If you're extremely risk-averse, waiting for the second model year could be the smarter move. Against the BMW X7, the Q9's biggest advantage may be how new the package feels. The X7 has established itself as one of the strongest driving three-row luxury SUVs, and BMW still has an advantage in steering feel and a proven performance identity. But the Q9 answers with 429 horsepower, standard adaptive air suspension, massive cargo capacity, sophisticated lighting, and a cabin that feels distinctly different from the BMW approach. Against the Mercedes-Benz GLS, the battle becomes more interesting. The GLS has tremendous space, a highly luxurious cabin, and a strong reputation in this segment. But the Q9 brings a more restrained design and a distinctly Audi interpretation of technology. If you prefer subtle sophistication over visual excess, the Q9 could be the better match. Against the Cadillac Escalade, the Audi is playing a different game. The Escalade is bigger in attitude, more American in character, and famous for its commanding road presence. But the Q9 is more understated and European. It may appeal to buyers who want full-size capability without feeling like they're driving a rolling billboard. And against the Range Rover, the Q9 faces perhaps its toughest luxury challenge. Range Rover still has an enormous advantage in brand image, design, off-road heritage, and sheer sense of occasion. The Q9 counters with technology, German engineering, quattro traction, performance, and potentially stronger everyday practicality. If your definition of luxury is serenity and status, the Range Rover remains incredibly difficult to beat. If your definition is technology plus performance plus family usability, the Q9 becomes much more compelling. So what are the downsides? The Q9 is huge. Parking garages will remind you of that. Tight city streets will remind you of that. Those 23-inch wheels may look fantastic, but they also mean expensive tires and a greater risk of wheel and tire damage. The cabin is technologically impressive, but some buyers will find the digital controls less intuitive than traditional physical switches. Options can quickly inflate the purchase price. Fuel consumption will not be the reason you buy this SUV. And long-term reliability remains an unanswered question because this is a new flagship. But the strengths are equally clear. You get genuine three-row capability, 429 horsepower, quattro all-wheel drive, adaptive air suspension, up to 7,700 pounds of towing capacity, up to 87.7 cubic feet of cargo space, 6 or 7 seat configurations, advanced lighting, 5-zone climate control, premium audio, a highly digital cabin, and a performance SQ9 with 591 horsepower. So who should buy the Q9? If you're replacing a luxury three-row SUV and want something modern, Technologically ambitious, comfortable, fast, and different from the usual choices, the Q9 deserves a serious look. It makes particular sense for families who want real third-row usability without giving up premium materials and performance. And who should choose the SQ9? Simple. The buyer who looks at a 591 horsepower V8 3-row SUV and thinks, "That's exactly what I wanted." The SQ9 is unnecessary in the best possible way. Its 3.8-second 0-to-60 time is ridiculous, but that's precisely the point. Should you buy immediately? If you need a flagship SUV now and you love what Audi is offering, the Q9 is already one of the most interesting new entries in this class. But if you plan to keep your vehicle for a decade, waiting for early reliability data could be the smarter financial decision. Let other buyers discover the first-year software bugs, option quirks, parts availability issues, and resale behavior. And now we can answer the big question. Is the 2027 Audi Q9 actually good enough to challenge the BMW X7, Mercedes-Benz GLS, Range Rover, and Cadillac Escalade? Yes. Not because it destroys all four in one category. It doesn't. The BMW still has a strong driving reputation. The GLS remains an exceptional luxury cruiser. The Range Rover has unmatched brand character and presence. The Escalade delivers enormous American luxury and space. But the Q9 doesn't need to beat every competitor at everything. It needs to give buyers a legitimate fifth choice. And that's exactly what it does. The Q9 brings Audi into a segment it previously left to everyone else, and it arrives with the kind of technology, space, performance, and luxury expected from a flagship. At $87,700 to start, it also enters the conversation with a surprisingly competitive opening price, while the $118,000 SQ9 gives performance buyers a completely different reason to walk into an Audi dealership. The biggest question isn't whether the Q9 is impressive. It is whether Audi can prove that this impressive first-year package can remain reliable, desirable, and financially sensible after the new car excitement disappears. If it can, the Q9 isn't simply joining the full-size luxury SUV battle. It could become one of the cars that changes the battle. If you enjoyed this deep dive, hit the like button, subscribe to Car Garage USA, and turn on notifications because we're going to keep bringing you the cars that actually matter before you spend serious money. And now I want to hear from you. Would you take the 2027 Audi Q9, the BMW X7, Mercedes-Benz GLS, Range Rover, or Cadillac Escalade? And if you're going for maximum performance, would you choose the 591 horsepower SQ9? Drop your choice in the comments, because this flagship SUV battle is just getting started.